Hello, friends. Welcome back to another episode of I'll Call You Right Back podcast with me, your host. My name is Chad Medved. Appreciate you being here this week. First off, if you are new here, if you are a longtime listener, if you are a friend of the show, and you have not yet taken some time out to rate and review and subscribe to the podcast channels, I beg of you. No, I don't beg of you, but I would ask you kindly to do so if you'd like to support the show. You know, that's an easy way to support the show. If you're listening audio only on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, you could subscribe to the show there. You could leave a little rating and review, 5 stars, greatly appreciated. If you don't got nothing nice to say, just don't say nothing. If you are watching on YouTube, please hit the subscribe button, leave a kind comment, and like the video. I don't know how much that does for me, but it's nice to see. It's nice to see people enjoying what I'm doing, right? That's pretty much it. That's a free way to support the little guy like me doing a show in his basement like Wayne's World, is to just support on social media. Share the episode out, spread the word, tell a friend, tell someone who enjoys listening to a Yinzer in his basement talk to interesting folks that are woven into the fabric of Pittsburgh's community. That's all you got to do. If you want to go one further and you want to support the show in a monetary fashion, there's a couple ways you could do that. You could go to www.illcallyouRightback.com. I have some merchandise, some t-shirts. Currently, I got some hats. They're being made. I got half of them delivered, but waiting for a few more. I'll have some beanies, some Carhartt beanies, some Carhartt branded hats that I'm pretty jazzed about. Those will all be up there, and that's a way you could support the show. I'm on Patreon if you want to jump on there. I'll call you right back. But in addition to all that, I like to plan some events, and I got my first event of the season. It is officially out. Tickets are on sale, and it is the third official Haunted Berg Bus experience to Castle Blood. Castle Blood is a local haunted house, been around for 3 decades, 30 years. It is in Monessen, and it is probably my favorite haunted house in the city, but what's cool about it is they do events throughout the year, so the people that like the spooky shit could scratch that itch, and this one is going to be for the St. Patrick's Day season. So Saturday, March 15th, I am hosting a Berg Bus event where we are going to meet at Permanis in the waterfront. You meet down there 6:45. The Berg Bus is going to depart from Permanis in the waterfront at 7 p.m. and we are going to head over to Castle Blood to experience the St. Patrick's, a little play on words, St. Patrick's celebrations at the haunt. And the people that run these haunts are, they're doing God's work. It's a thankless job. It is, it's not incredibly lucrative to do these haunts. This is more of a passion project. And the guy who runs this, Ricky Dick, he has been on the podcast a few times, and he is a fascinating human being who really pours his heart and soul into the castle. But yeah, we're going to take off 7 p.m. and we're going to have some fun on the way there. We're going to play the 1993 classic Leprechaun on the way there. Going to have some commentary by me. We're going to talk. We're going to laugh, sip a drink or two, and we're going to have a cauldron of Halloween candy that you could eat until you get sick. But tickets, $46.66, 4666, $46.66. That is an all-inclusive ticket that will get you a shuttle ride to and from the Berg Bus, or to and from Castle Blood on the Berg Bus, rather. And we're going to get to skip the line at the haunt, go through. We get taken care of pretty well there. Ricky likes us. And, I'm excited about that. I like to do these events. This is the first one of the season. It's a fun time. Around Halloween time last year, I did 2 of them. We went to 100 Acres Manor on the bus, and then we had a sold out bus to Castle Blood, which was a fantastic time. Really, really a wonderful time, because who likes in addition to just going in October for haunted houses, what's better than going throughout the year to a haunted house? This place is unique in itself because it's literally like a theatrical environment. Like it's like you're walking in the Munsters house. They put so much care into the environment that you're in, and it's different than a haunt where you're just you're not just walking through and getting scared. This is like a all-inclusive, or this is a interactive, rather. This is an interactive haunt where you go through, you get to do puzzles, you get to collect talismans to try to make your way through, and it's a real fun time. I hope to see you there. If you want to buy tickets to that, you can go over to the Berg Bus website, bergbus.com, go up to the calendar, go to Saturday, March 15th, click that, buy yourself a ticket, bring a friend, and let's have some fun for the St. Patrick's Day season. You know what I mean? Let's watch a leprechaun on the bus the way there. What's better than that? Not too much. I think I'm the only one in the city who does stuff like this. So it's a very unique experience. It'll be fun. I'll have merchandise on the bus. Going to be a good time. But the reason that everyone is here this week, I'll quit banging your ear about all the stuff I'm trying to peddle. The reason that everyone is here this week I sit down with a fantastic guest for a part 2 of a wonderful conversation. Louie Nice is an artist. He's a photographer who his main focus is film photography. That's what's very unique about him. He is absolutely incredibly talented. He is a touring photographer that tours with big name bands. Currently, he's on the road with Zach Bryan, who is, a country powerhouse. Everyone knows who that is. Before that, he toured around with Charles Wesley Godwin and the Allegheny High, who are some... there's some alumni of the show, some of the men in the Charles Wesley Godwin's band, the Allegheny High. But Lou comes over and, we had a 3-hour-long conversation, so I had to break it out into 2 parts. And this week is obviously part 2. So if you have not yet, jump back and listen to part 1 so you could get the full effect of the conversation. It's a great conversation. I was happy to do it. I was happy that Lou wanted to come in and, let me beat his ear about what goes into being a photographer for the stars. You know what I mean? What goes into the day-to-day of being a photographer for someone in sold out stadiums that are, performing with people like Bruce Springsteen, John Mayer, and the second part, we really get into the nitty gritty of the day-to-day of this. What goes into developing film on the road, what kind of equipment he uses, what, all of that. All of that. And I'm not even going to try to explain it in here. I just want you to listen to the episode. So without further ado, episode 296, part 2 of I'll Call You Right Back podcast with Louie Nice.
I got to use the telephone.
Hello?
Telephone.
I'll call you right back. Call you right back.
Telephone.
I'll Call You Right Back podcast. And I mean, so at that point, well, not really at that point, but, fast forward a little bit, there's obviously a fork in the road. You're taking photos for Charles's band, and then you have an opportunity to take photos for Zach's band.
Yeah.
You obviously are taking photos for Zach's band. And I think it's, where's your mentality on why you went with that?
Yeah, I mean, that like transpired. I mean, it was like Kansas City on that first run was the first time Zach brought up like work he wanted to do with me.
Okay.
Compared to me just like being Charles' photographer and also taking pictures for him too.
Yeah.
But Zach went to Charles to like ask him like, hey, can he also, shoot for me and do this work? And Charles was like, at the time, Charles was like, yeah. Charles came to me and was like, you got to do it. You got to go do that shit.
Yeah. I mean, it's an obvious, it's an obvious choice. Yeah. As a professional yourself, you have opportunities. And, you have to take opportunities as a professional. And I think anyone could really understand that. But you go and you start shooting for Zach. And like, when does that start to be like a thing? Like, you just kind of go with him.
I mean, after 2021, I missed like I know I missed like a little run with the guys.
Which guys?
What?
Which guys?
With Chuck's guys.
Okay.
It was like the first time I'd ever missed, but that was to shoot the cover for American Heartbreak. And that was like the first time I'd like missed some time with the guys, but it was just like understood. It was fine. It was also still the beginnings. Charles had not blown up like he had yet. Again, not family ties. How the Mighty Fall was doing really well, because it was a perfect storm of it dropping while opening, and all of Zach's fans also just instantly falling in love with Charles, and like it just building and building and building and building. And so now we're like playing some of those same smaller venues and building up. So like I'd missed that for doing that shoot.
Wait. We can't just fast forward past the American Heartbreak cover. So that was an intentional trip that you guys took. He wanted you to shoot the cover of that album.
Yeah, and it was just we talked about it, and it was like, hey, like he was just like, hey, I'm going to move to New York. Do you want to come to Tulsa and like go to New York with me? Fly in and then drive to New York with his shit. And I was like, sure, yeah, let's do it. And he was like, I think we can shoot something like while we're out on the road. I can have fun. And I was just like, that sounds great. I'm going to do it.
So the American Heartbreak album is very, very notable album, obviously.
First studio album.
I mean, absolutely incredible. The album cover, super sick. It has a dope blur, smoking a cigarette, walking through that field. I got chills just thinking about it. But how does that moment transpire with the American Heartbreak cover?
I mean, we had been driving on the road for a good couple of days, and
just you two?
Me, Zach, and a buddy of his, Chase.
Okay.
And we had been driving on the road for like 2 or 3 days, and we just kind of had came off like a pretty like long night of just drinking and partying in like this town, Paducah, Kentucky. And we drove like the next morning, like this was actually the time when it turned into just me, him, and his dog Jack on the road. And Chase had to leave town, and me and Zach were just driving like after leaving that hotel, and we got a little outside of Paducah on the interstate, and I just saw this barn off the side of the road, like you see on any interstate, and 'cause it's all farmland. And I was like, oh, hey, I'm gonna pin that on my map. Let's go check that out. There's a lot of like the light's great. Let's see what we do. And and we drove over there, took some pictures, like kind of like towards like the end of twilight that night, and did whatever. And then we're just like, let's come back tomorrow, and got a hotel in town and just hung out there. And then the next day, like set up to shoot there, and not like I set up anything, just it was all natural light and just shooting on like my RB. And we had done what we thought was the cover and what we like imagined was going to be that, and so on and so forth. And we're just fucking around with shit. And we were just in that barn, and it was like, basically golden hour. And I just had been sitting there, and I was looking through like the prism finder on my RB, at him out the barn, and he was just kind of walking around. And then I just was like, hey, just wait 1 second, stand still, and then on the count of 3, like be taking to drag your cigarette with your hands in your pocket and just take a step.
That's really what it was?
Yeah. And then I had my shutter speed stopped down to 30, and that was just enough that with like the motion that he stepped with, that it really like still had a good bit. I probably could have stopped down even a little more to get more, but it was like the perfect amount. It just worked.
So that
was not supposed to be the cover. That was just, but I knew when I saw it through the thing, I was like, oh, this looks like the thing. This looks like whatever it is we're trying to do. This is what it is. And hilarious enough, we took more pictures, but drove all the way to New York, dropped at a film lab there that I still drop at, and Yeah, and I remember we went to a Chuck show that I was supposed to be at and shoot at City Winery, and we're there, and then I got the negatives back, and we had a show in DC the next day that he was also going to come to, and so Zach came to that Charles show there in DC, and I had gotten the stuff and was waiting to look at it with him, but I like couldn't help myself, and like I dug into it, and like no lie, the first roll that I clicked on to like go through on my computer was like the roll with that picture on it, and I like saw it and I was like, that's it.
Wow.
Yeah, it wasn't even like a question, which there's a ton of other ones I dig.
Yeah.
A ton of other ones like I worked some stuff out and put, different font and whatnot on and tried to work some stuff out to say it, and there's a lot of like offshoots. But yeah, that one it was just like the whole time I was like, yeah, I love this picture. I think it fits,
That's cool. So that was like, your trip, you guys were shooting some photos with the intention to have that as an album cover.
Yeah. We knew what we wanted to get.
Yeah,
he
yeah,
knew what he wanted. I knew I could do it. And we were just going to go and like knock it out. And it totally just happened. It wasn't even like a question. It just worked itself out. So
that's pretty wild.
Yeah.
It's cool to hear that. And then, obviously, American Heartbreak turns into like, just wildfire.
Very big thing. Yeah.
And then, the Zach Bryan self-titled album, you also did that.
Yeah. I've done a bunch of other ones in between. I mean, I like Summertime Blues, other single covers.
Yeah.
But the self-titled one was like hilarious because it's like a picture that is from a show in 2022 that, and it was just like we were bouncing around ideas, and he had stuff that he was thinking it was, and then I'll always just like build some other ones and just send them to pull them, try and pull something together. And it just turned into like this picture that was of Jay and JR and Zach having a cigarette after the show in New Braunfels, Texas, that like zoomed in. It just turned into it just was like, it was like right. It just felt like it was like the thing. Like you just know when you see something, you're like, oh yeah, this is what I'm trying to make. Like this is the whole vibe, the feeling, whatever. And then me and him just started spitballing, going back and forth. And then I was like building out that font, and I'm just like kind of having fun with it. And also having, pretty much every one of his albums, I've been in the studio also taking pictures and being there with the guys, videoing and photoing. And it's like to know how that album was coming out as well from a, just alternative or abstract nature, and it not really just confining to country music and more or less being whatever the hell Zach wants to make it.
Yeah.
I just felt like where the direction of like the cover and the look was going was just right.
That's interesting to think about that, as far as like you being involved with, hearing this whole project come together. You yourself kind of get like a vibe from that project. He has a vibe from that project. You cross-pollinate together on like what you guys are both, because like you're looking at it from a different viewpoint than he is. So it's cool to hear about that as well. Now, you as a professional, a photographer, like the American Heartbreak album, I mean, obviously the Zach Bryan album is dope, but like the American Heartbreak album is like one that's going to be in history. That's like a big deal.
Yeah.
You seeing that album cover on there, I mean, what does that make you feel? That's your work. Like, how does that make you feel? Can you put do you feel something for that?
I think what I take from all of this stuff, any of them, in terms of work, because that's just kind of how it's always been between me and Zach, is that we coexist really, really well together. Mm-hmm. And especially like not just from like a friend standpoint, brother standpoint, whatever, but like from a like creative standpoint, like I do the things that I do, and it just matches up. I give him input, it just matches up, and he brings it back, and it works, and we just ebb and flow really well when we work together. And basically, like, for me, when I see that up there, I'm just like, man, that was like every time like one of those things have shown up and been on a cover, or build out merch and make work that's out there that's like on people are wearing it, or the all of the tour stuff, like with the font that is from the ZB album that turned into the tour font for this year's tour, or like that picture that is a accumulation of my pictures and some drawings with this dude Freddie. And it's like any of that stuff, when it comes to fruition and it's like a fully finished product, I guess I don't think about it from the standpoint of like this impact it has like going forward and like in time, and instead just really enjoy seeing like a finished product, because I think that's something I struggle with a lot, is we'll just be like seeing something out to the end. But I think there's nothing better than like seeing a physical copy of something that you did, compared to like it just being on like a phone, or like I look through so many images all the time like on like a digital aspect. So when it's like I'm holding a actual record, or a t-shirt or something, and I built that out, it's really special. But I think it's just something that goes between me and him, where we just work really good together. So like I don't think so hard on this stuff. It's all really natural. Like I said, the picture of American Heartbreak, super natural. Like Summertime Blues was a picture I took at a show in Charleston, and it just worked. And being in the studio, like that's the crazy thing, is all of these projects we work on, and I think that's just very unheard of from a standpoint of any band or just group, is dudes, I mean, Zach and me handle this big chunk of a creative side of it, or at least we have for a large period of time. And then most of the time, the guys that you're seeing on stage playing the music are playing on the album, like, yeah. And that's just not how it always goes. Like there's a lot of these touring bands, like they have like, they're the touring band, and then there's like the band for recording and so on and so forth. So on the Charles side, as well as the Zach side, for it to be in so many ways just such a big 360 entity of like everybody has their hand in something and is working, it just makes these projects when they come out feel really, really good. So I feel like I got really confused on answering that question perfectly.
That's all right. I think you did a good job at it. It's just, whenever I asked you that question, my mindset of it all is like, you're living in this, like, in this world of that. And it's just like a constant that you're always experiencing, is like being in that world. You're living in that world, and then you have these like certain images after you take thousands of photos that make such an impact on like everyone else that's outside of that world. It's interesting to like to think about it, because I would assume that like you're like, I have other photos that are this and that, but it's just like wild to think that like the cover of the ZB album is like just a zoomed in picture of some random fucking thing that turned out to be like another album. And it's like you took a bunch of photos from the American Heartbreak shoot, and it's like that one ends up being it. It's like, I don't know, it's wild to think that like to just hone in on one thing and like think of that one image that's just like, I don't know. I don't even know how
I think what's cool about it in the end, and that's the same thing that goes with like any of these other just history in general, but like is the making a choice and picking one thing doesn't fully represent the entirety of the work that made that.
Yeah.
And I think what's really awesome about that is it allows for the story to like have all of these offshoots and go on. And I think that's what's always like really cool about that. Like, again, I mean, not nobody, but a vast majority of people have not seen like all of the other pictures from us just being on the road during like shooting American Heartbreak, or like people haven't seen pictures that are of us all dancing at the Airbnb we were staying at in Philly when we recorded Summertime Blues, or like, and those are just those stories that allow this to just kind of like continue to have layers and go on. And like, that's the beauty of it. Same with like just anything, just having more stories to tell, having more depth to something than just it just being like, so-and-so called me up, I took this picture, it was the cover, and that truly is all it is.
It's more like a moment. You see that and you think of the entire picture.
And it's so I think that's actually like the best part about it is just all of the other layers that are there that you don't see within just like the one picture that's there. That's kind of the cool thing about, you get that with movies too, but just having a still picture represent an entire thing. And it doesn't have to have like a sound when you look at it. It doesn't have to have motion and be a movie. Like it can just be a picture. I think that's what's so fascinating about photos is that thing can like represent something and give you that. Yeah. And then to know as well outside of it that there's all these other layers and things going on to it that make it so much bigger.
Yeah. Like you see that and it takes you back to that time in a whole.
Yeah, think about it in a second. Yeah.
Now, obviously, with him being as big of an artist as it is, and you being known for taking these great photos, you obviously get some, notoriety as well. Like I know that you were in Cream magazine.
Yeah.
That's wild in itself. How does something like that turn out?
Yeah, I got a DM from Mandy Brownholtz, who was working at Cream at the time. And honestly, like, because it was a DM and it wasn't like from Cream, I at first just like didn't really know what it is. Also at the time, I like loosely knew of Cream magazine. And it's just cool because realistically Cream is just this magazine that was built on like the punk scene and like essentially like alternative and not your mainstream, like even metal, so on and so forth. Like they've covered so many cool aspects and they've always just been this not corporate version and of like a Rolling Stone. And I'm not even gonna say like they're the non-corporate version of it. Like they're just a really dope magazine.
Yeah.
And like they've done that stuff forever. And she hit me up and just said that she wanted to do a thing on just on like me and my time with Zach, like through pictures. Yeah. And had sent me some that she had done before, like on a girl who worked with Hole and Courtney Love, like her band, and some other people who had done like an expose on like, I think like Midwest, like honestly, like Midwest emo, like music and shit like that. And they all looked cool. I was like, yeah, 100% I'm gonna do it. This is awesome. And yeah, they just approached me for it. And then me and her talked on the phone, honestly, in a similar way, like we're talking, just she had me like send her some pictures. She picked the picture she liked. I approved them. Then we sat on a phone call and she just went through them and we just talked about pictures. And then it was like, hey, here's this picture. She would say like what this is, like, or like talk about what it like made her feel when she saw it. And then I'd explain all of these underlying facts around it. And then it would just create like some of those tidbits that are in there of like her like explaining what's going on in the image. And it was really cool.
It's cool because, like we were saying, people see these images and they see, him tagging you, they see Charles tagging you, they see, these artists tagging you, and like you see the Louie Nice tag and, people could see, your style that you have developed over time. But, one of the reasons I start the podcast is, people see this final product and we get to experience a final product, whether it be a delicious meal from like Dia Noya's, but like, my whole purpose for doing this is kind of learning about that.
Yeah.
Learning about the people who create that final product. So you having like an opportunity to really like kind of tell your story and tell your side of things is, what's mind blowing to me. So like that opportunity to do that, was that like the first opportunity you had to like really like, give yourself a voice to
yeah. I mean, outside of just putting stuff on Instagram, because I mean that's really the only place I'm doing anything.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm going to be showing work here some point down the line, as well as I've been working on a few different book ideas. Not really any of them. I mean, if there's a book that is just off of like between me and Zach, that'll be between me and him working on it, because we've talked about that a bunch, but just has not come into things. But like, there's a lot of things for me to do it myself, but people coming forward to want to like hear specifically my story, like other than me putting stuff out on Instagram for people to see, like, or Zach posting about it, or Charles, or the guys, like, it's not really talked about. So like when Mandy came through and was like, hey, I want to write this story, I was like, really? You know, you do? And she was like, yeah, that'd be really cool. Like, we're doing a country issue, and I think this is exactly what we want. And I was like, cool, I'm down. Yeah, that'd be awesome. So it was cool to have that. I mean, like, I'm not out searching for it in any way, shape, or form. I just like being that I'm like not noted in the background documenting, because I think more than anything, like, my style is less of I'm trying to edit or do something special in a picture to like gravitate, like make you gravitate towards it. I instead want, like I was talking before, I want to just feel like I'm taking a picture for the first time, or I'm in this room and it feels really natural, and that energy that's coming through it from documenting something, you feel, you know, in whatever capacity, whether I'm taking pictures of me and you sitting in here, or I'm on a street in New York taking pictures of random people walking by, or I'm on stage with Zach at Lincoln Financial with 60,000 people taking pictures of him and Bruce Springsteen. So it's like, it's no matter where, I want it to feel like, you know, in the moment, it's natural. You know, like even thinking of the Bruce thing, like in comparison to those things, it's like on the Revival stage, the B stage out in the middle of the thing, there's a picture I took of Bruce and Zach on the mic on my fisheye lens on my Pentax 6.7, and I was just like on the stairs in front of them and just kind of stuck it up in front of the mic and snapped it in that moment. And it's funny because I think of that one specifically, and like, you know, I go and look at like people I love, like a Jim Marshall, or some of these people who took pictures in like, you know, really pivotal times in music, like the 60s and whatnot, and just in our like history. But and you see these things where like stuff's just so crisp and they like nailed focus and whatnot. But like, that's the cool thing about that picture of Zach and Bruce, is like Zach's on the mic and Zach is like singing Revival, and like the lights are booming, and like Bruce is playing his guitar, like kind of like coming up to the mic, and there's kind of some like motionish blur, as well as like not perfectly nailing the focus. But I think what's cool is not just that, like, I go in there and document that thing like to a T, so you can see it really crisply and be like, yes, they are doing that. Thank you for presenting that picture. But more that you can feel like when you look at the picture, like you're like in my camera, like in the insanity that's going on stage, and like being there, and it's like happening, and that's happening, and you're almost the one taking it, you know?
Yeah. I love how you just described that, because that's really what I feel like that I get from it, compared to like, you know, the other types of like, you know, images. Like, you really feel like you could tell what that moment feels like, whenever you look at your photos. And not to like discredit anyone else,
of course
that takes photos that might like, you know, look sharp and crisp on stage, but like you and for lack of a better term, I say like messy, like your photos are like messy in that way. I don't even want to use the word messy, but
no, messy is 100% something I'd describe with. Yeah. I just like it because like that's really what that's one of the biggest like characteristics of your photos that I enjoy, is that you see like kind of like, you know, the motion. You could tell that, you know, boys are buzzing up there, just moving around. And like, you know, I don't know, I love that. And I feel like that there's not a lot of, you know, often people want like, you know, this perfect crisp photo that's like, you know, picture perfect. But I don't know, it's cool to be able to see the way that you do that, and to kind of like say fuck it, and just like, you know, put those out there in that way, and, you know, add some extra level of, you know, immersion to it. Like you said, people being able to like see it through your camera. It makes it worthwhile for me. Yeah. Like it makes me like want to keep doing the work. You know what I mean? If I think, because again, the whole thing, just accountability and whatnot. Like if if I'm not motivated or just hyped or excited or feeling something, you know, I don't, I can half-ass something. I can fall off. I can just get really disinterested. And that's kind of the dope thing that I've always had in this just goofy, you know, 3-4 year run between all of these guys is just, I believe in Charles' music. I always have. I love his ability to like storytell and write and his voice, you know, same with Zach on all of the same notes, you know, and all of the guys and how they shape their sounds because they have all different music backgrounds. And it's like, that is enough. That also goes in with just everyone being a good hang, that like anytime I'm around, I'm just like, I want to take pictures. I want to be there documenting. I like want to show that off. Like, and I think that's such a big key. And I'm sure I'll work with some other people where I'm like, oh man, this was not the best time. And maybe I got some great stuff out of it. Or maybe you can see that it wasn't the greatest time in like my pictures. But I think that's cool that it's a representation of it. Just knowing what feels right or what's great, you know, and rolling with it. So,
yeah. Now, do you know, I know you did the documentary for Family Ties.
Yeah.
Whenever they recorded that.
Yeah.
For you working with video, you know, do you approach it any differently than photos?
I would say from the video side, I'm definitely much more of a novice, you know, just simply due to like shooting with like actual motion picture film, I feel is a little more of just in my wheelhouse because I can understand just like ISO, you know, shutter speed, like frame rate, all of these simple things. When I'm so not versed on the digital side that I'm just like, yeah, hey, here it is in 4K, like in some other different file formats. And then I can get like really lost and confused and all that. And that's not really my space. But when I'm approaching that, it's the exact same way. Like I'm not trying to, you know, hardcore set up a scene or, you know, pose things out for the guys. Like I might have like a little thing of like, I have like the camera set up in the big room there when we were recording Family Ties, and I'll go, you know, tap, you know, Lucas was there playing fiddle, and I'll tap Lucas on the shoulder. I'm like, hey, just scoot a little over so this just looks like cleaner. Other than that, like, no, I just want I want you to feel like you're like being there. Like, of course, if I'm like making a like movie, like a motion picture, that's a whole different story because you're trying to like actually put together this story and this vision that you have. And when a documentary, like the vision of a documentary for me is to always just have it feel like, especially with this stuff, like you're just there in the room and you're like around the guys. So I think the like big wide scapes of just being like there when Reed's like playing a lick in the boardroom, or, you know, Charles is alone in there working on the flood. I think having those just be these big static open shots allow you to sit there and just be a part of it and be in the room and like feel that. But then it's cool to have the VHS camera as well, because with that, I feel like it sort of like brings you closer and like warms you up because you're like seeing this thing. And maybe at a certain point that'll fade out and it'll only be that like it's looked at as just this cool little effect, because younger kids now, that's what it is. It's no longer really used. Like their parents are probably showing them like videos of them as a kid on their iPhone now, you know, when like for me, when I see that footage, it's not me being like, oh, I'm trying to make this like cool and edgy with like film. No, like I think it makes you feel like, oh, these guys are a family and they're like making an album, you know, or, oh, like their dad's there, like recording them make this album. Or same with it would be if I'm like filming them at a show in Nebraska playing for 5 people. You know, it's like this close knit. And I think that's what those different mediums bring. But I'm not going to say I'm like a novice, but from a like knowing how to put stuff together standpoint, I'm like all there on it. It's just like file formats and, you know, editing is semi daunting to me. I'm just like, I get so lost. Like I'm so bad with taking care of all of my like storage and, you know, filed and
your workflow.
It's so messy because it's like I have all of this film documented and like put away, and it's in all of these sleeves and set up and labeled. And then all the digital files are like 8 in this cloud, on this cloud app, in this thing, in that. And I'm like, shout out, hey, if there's anyone out there who is really good at like putting that shit together and you watch this, help me.
Yeah, that's what I mean. That's a whole different.
I guarantee with all of this, yeah, I guarantee it's a lot.
I spend at least an hour just like offloading files and renaming shit, and putting all that, and to edit these fucking video episodes takes me, dude, it's sickening. So it's like, you know, your approach to it is interesting to think of that as well, because I don't know, video is just a different beast in general.
Of course.
Now, to get into more of like, you know, the actual, you know, the meat and potatoes of what you're doing, I'm curious to know of your workflow as far as being a touring photographer with film, because you take photos of a show and they're available the next day. You know, Zach will post one. This is from last night. It's all these photos from a fucking, you know, crazy show with Bruce Springsteen or something like that. Take me through your day to day as a photographer.
So I would say for most cases, we probably do like maybe like 2 days later, you know, sometimes. And I'm not trying to like down the whole thing, but it's just due to like how like the workflow works again, because it's just so much more regarding like travel and like where we're having to be and whatnot, you know. So first off, I have like prior to this year, I would just send it out to labs all the time that I knew could do next day. But obviously it would be 2 days because I'd ship the day after the show, and then it would get there that next day, and then I'd get it like 5 or 6 o'clock that next day, and
the
then
film
I'd put them
scans
together. Yeah. And, you know, ship the negatives back to Pittsburgh. But this year I had the blessing of bringing on an assistant in Hudson McNeese, who goes by Ebner. He does not go by Hudson. He goes by Ebner. And he's like changed the game. Again, just another guy who like fits that moniker of like, you know, just like be easy to work with and like everything's great. And he is just like the funniest dude and so talented at his job. He went to school for like taking photos and like learned all of these stuff about, you know, prints and developing. Worked at Boutique, shout out Boutique, which is a film lab down in Nashville. It's like one of the first places I sent my film, which is crazy because I was sending it there and he wasn't working there anymore at the time, which is crazy to think that he might have almost developed my film before I even like started doing this stuff, which is crazy. But and so like on a daily basis, realistically, it's like we left a show, let's say, we're traveling overnight, you know, after like our bus call at like 2 a.m., we get on the bus, go to bed, whatever, get to the next city. When we get there, usually that stuff from that show, what we'll do, I have 2 cases. I have a case that is strictly like my scanning setup with like my digital camera in there. Like I'm using a DSLR setup. And it's just basically like looking straight down at like a light table, and there's a winder there that's like winding the film through. And there's a scanning setup, and then I have a whole another case that is all just chemicals, like all the chemistry and you know, just everything for the development side. And usually what it is Ebner will go to his room, he'll start developing. I'll go and set up all of my shit in my room. Sometimes we'll just go into one person's room and just work together in there. And basically we'll just start, he'll develop. So he's, you know, getting the water up to temp. If we need to make new chemistry, mixing new chemistry, I'm going through labeling my film rolls, getting stuff together. Then he starts running the chemistry, and he has all his tips and tricks of the trade of like, hey, we're going to get more out of this if we attach both of like the 120, like when your 120 film comes out of that spool that it's on, there's a piece of tape on the end, and he'll tape that end to the other end of like the other 120 that's going on that roll, and roll 2 on one spool. So we're getting more into that container to like be more efficient. And he just has these like little tips like that, or just, it's also crazy to know that he just knows how I shoot certain things and how some stuff comes out from like doing the chemistry, that he'll do little things of like, you know, just keeping it like keeping it in the chemistry a little bit longer or a little bit less to just bring certain things out of it, knowing how I shoot. That's really changed it. But like the delivery of like how all the pictures come across. But then after he's done developing, let the shit dry, get something neat or whatever, and then usually the hotel rooms are not really conducive for this. I mean, we're making a mess. It is what it is. But then when those are dry, it turns into just me scanning. And again, so that's usually like a day after type thing. I get the stuff together, I ship it off to the guys. But then when like it's a show day and we're at the arena and we're maybe there for like 2 days, or we're at the stadium for 2 days, it will maybe after that we'll just move everything to the arena, because we have great backstage coordinators in Maria and Sal, and they're the best. They are the best. They've worked with everybody. Maria is super known, but like they'll usually put us somewhere near like our band green room, but also they'll usually find like a trainer's room. Yeah. Which is, trainers' rooms are the best for a mobile lab. They always have a sink. They always have counter space. And so we'll set up in there, and then Ebner will just set the whole lab up again, like break it down in there, set it up in there. I'll set up the scanning setup. And then depending on how things are going, we might do it that night post show, or we'll do it the next day. So then we're set up with, you know, the day we're leaving that town, and we're scanning in there in the morning, same setup, same run through. But then that's where shit gets tricky, is if it's like there's a special guest or there's something big that happens, you know, that's something where me and him communicate, and I'm like, hey, mid-show, here's these 4 rolls. There's something on here that's right that we want to get out, and he'll go and develop it during the show. And then post-show, I'll come out. It'll be like, you know, 12:30 or something. That stuff still needs to dry. And then it's like in that last hour, I'm scanning everything and breaking everything down so we can get onto the bus at 2 a.m. So if it was something where me and him were showing up to shoot a specific show and had it dialed in as to how things were going, and we weren't going to like leave that night, because I've tried to scan on the bus and it's impossible, because the bus just has so much movement that camera, like facing down, it's just shaking. You're not getting like
a crisp image.
Exactly. So it's just impossible to do on the bus, when if like we were finishing a show and then we were staying in town an extra day to work on it, like I think the productivity would maybe jump a little bit, because we could just do a really long night, knock everything out, and then travel that day after, instead of like at 2 a.m. But it's hectic, but it's really, really fun. We have a blast. Like we just goof around in the lab, and he cooks his stuff up and churns out really, really great work from his end. And he's also an incredible photographer and videographer, and he kind of takes a little of that help off of me, so I'm not like stretching myself so thin like I did in all the previous years. Yeah, it's hectic, but it's really dependent on
the situation you guys
situation, travel schedule, where we're going, just because of having to build it up and break it all down. And again, it's not like we're just doing 2 rolls.
Yeah, like how many rolls are you shooting a night on average?
Probably shooting, I only shoot like about 150 pictures.
Okay.
So I would say it's usually like I shoot about probably anywhere between 8 to 10 rolls of 120, and on both of my cameras they're shooting 6x7, which means I'm only getting 10 pictures out of them per roll. And then on my 35 millimeter, it's dependent upon if I have a few left from the show before that I'm still trying to finish up, and then finishing a whole roll of like 36 exposures during that show. Yeah. And so usually, yeah, it's crazy, because like, again, going back to that question before where you were like, where did the changeover between Charles and Zach full time and whatnot happened. Cause like that point we were talking about was like kind of the jumping off point of American Heartbreak happened. And then it turned into like splitting time. But with Chuck, it's interesting with talking about this, like that stuff was still, it would be crazy because I'd be between the two and I'd go work for Charles and I'd shoot, 3,000 pictures because I can. I I can easily not miss a moment shooting digital. But then on the other side, I'm like working with Zach at the same time, and I'm taking at those shows only 150 pictures. At that time, probably less, because I was like really like, oh, I don't want to spend that much money on the film or like stretch the budget that far. So I'm trying to like shoot less and do more, which you miss more, you do.
Yeah.
And then it just built over time. And it's kind of wild to only like in a night there, like there's people who shoot the first 3 songs that are your photographers who got a pass or whatever through management or the venue, and they get the first 3 songs to shoot on. And I would imagine those first 3 songs, they take more pictures than I take in the entire night.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess that makes sense.
So it'd be cool to have it on film and have like 3, it'd be cool. It'd be honestly so unnecessary and annoying to have like 3 assistants, 4 Pentax 6.7s, and a few RBs and like multiple of these. And just when I finish one, somebody's handing me a camera. So you're never missing.
But
they're set to, but yeah.
Your quality over quantity with the photos, and
it's built into getting better, because it was definitely more of like I don't want to be the guy who's shooting film and shooting a ton and then it's bad.
Yeah.
And I'm just spending tons of money. And it just turned into like, again, that same thing of being thrown in the fire of like, all right, hey, I have to nail this shit. Because if I don't nail this shit, then like it's a huge waste of money compared to like the digital. I just nail it. And again, going back on the thing before, the whole place where I start shooting film strictly is like, I like was going to start going out on tour with Zach, and we were doing a show in Webster Hall, and it was one of the first times I was working with him. And he was also playing with Chuck that weekend. Chuck was opening for him in Boston after it. And at Webster Hall, I was just there, and I just asked him, because we had been working together and all I'd been shooting on is film. And he was just like, hey, how do you want me to do stuff? Like, what are you looking for? Like, what do you want? Like, I'm obviously doing my video the way I do, but like photo wise, like, what do you want to post? So on and so forth. He's like, I don't give a fuck about any of that. He's like, let's shoot on film because it'll be sick.
Yeah.
It'll be really cool, like, to do it that way. And I'm like, are you sure? Like, and I'm like bringing up these things. They're just like, oh, like, portrait costs this much, so on and so on. He's like, nah, just let's shoot film. Screw it. We'll make it work. However it works, it'll work. It'll be fine.
I'm sure my dude ain't batting an eye over some rolls of film.
Yeah, but so it just turned into that, and
I know that's dope. You guys are like a Walt and Jesse from Breaking Bad. Just running into a hotel room and just getting your workflow down.
Hudson is shit. I said Hudson.
Shout out to Ebner.
Shout out Ebner. Ebner knows his shit. He's really talented.
That's it's cool to to think about that symphony of chaos with you shooting a show, you guys like getting your shit set up, you guys making it happen, you guys getting them images, you pushing them out to the guys. It's just cool to like kind of hear more on how the mechanics of all that works.
Yeah.
Because like you said, the digital, someone comes in, drops a memory card into their photo, offloads the photos into Lightroom, little fucking, flag it for yes or no, and just like take the good ones that you want and then just airdrop them to people.
Granted, it's wild at the same time though, from their standpoint.
It's wild.
Of course, they have like their different presets and whatnot to just know how they're working stuff, especially when you get to like a big show.
Yeah.
Because even where Charles is at now, it's still, I have no idea, actually. I don't know if they have a lighting guy or not now, but still, you're dealing with these places that have different setups compared to like working with a Zach or working with a, even Taylor Swift or something like that, or Harry Styles, whoever. You're traveling to these arenas and in these stadiums, and you're putting the same lights in there every night. So not saying their job gets any easier, but they might have 4,000 pictures, but maybe they're also have a more specific regimented schedule of like, oh, hey, I know the shot we want to have, like their social media team, everybody is all working together. And it's like, hey, we want this shot. So when they get it, they run back, they put it in, they build the whole thing together. They have the post, whatever ready, and it's finding its way, but also still sifting through tons of digital data. Where do you keep all that? What do you keep?
I'm not taking nothing away from them. Of course,
but like on our side, it's not anything. It's I take these pictures. I like think, oh, these are of the 150 I shot. Here's the like, whatever 80 or 90 images that I think are dope. Here, and then he just does what he wants with it.
Is there any? Has he given you any direction for each show? Like, I want this moment, like us, Revive and Read. Got to get those moments. Like,
no, he's never told me like I need you to do this. Like
gives you creative freedom.
In such an insane way. I need you to do this. No, like it's like he just trusts me.
Yeah,
it's the same thing with the band. Like it's just like that's again going back on this. It's just so much of this like this whole 4.5 years, whatever, has been this just 2-band thing. Like Chuck's the same way. It's just like if I ever go up to him to ask him for some input, because maybe I just want it. I don't know. It might not be that I need any input. I just want to like have some banter back and forth. He'll just be like, "No, I'll trust you."
Yeah.
Zach, "Oh no, I'll trust you." Like,
do what you do.
Obviously, Bruce is showing up, like, or certain things of that sort, like whatever, like moments happening.
Do you get freaked out in those moments as far as like being able to like not really freaked out, but is there more pressure in those moments whenever
to like for me it's I think it's hilarious because I said that whole thing earlier about like this specific picture at Philly of him and Zach on stage and how I loved how it's like not perfect, but when they show up I'm like, oh no, everything has to be perfect.
Yeah.
So I fuck myself over for essentially the first 2 hours prior to us going on stage and at least the first 3 to 4 songs because I know everything that's on the line. So I'm like, no, tonight has to be the best night of photography I ever do ever. And that's just fucked and not fair.
Yeah.
And so I screw myself over and then I calm down and then I'm like, okay, no, I'm just going to approach this as I do all the time and just be in the moment and not worry about it and who cares.
Yeah.
And good shit will happen. And there's definitely times where I like haven't gotten the greatest thing. I feel like when John Mayer was on stage with us in Vegas, I got some really cool ones. Did I absolutely nail something the way I wanted to? No, there were some things like I think I had my RB at the one point when him and Zach were having a moment and Zach like looks at me with a smile and I didn't even realize because it just flying through things that I hadn't pushed the exposure, not to push the exposure, pushed my moved the film one more frame. Jeez. And so I did like a double exposure. But then because I didn't do that and I was on the one and it was a quick moment thing, I didn't even really focus. So it's just this big, ugly amalgamation of things on a picture. And it's like, you just can't worry about it.
Yeah.
Because there's going to be another moment. And like when you look back on anybody in music, like you don't just like look at one, like you don't look at like how many times did they nail the best picture? No, there's just select things that really stick out and the rest kind of just fall into place and it's fine. Like,
yeah.
And I think when you can like rest with that, you can just be very chill with anyone who comes on stage. It doesn't matter. I mean, dude, in LA, we had like the entire Chargers and Rams football team on stage. And it's like, Cooper Kupp's kind of standing there just like looking around and like Puka Nakua's running around. I'm throwing a lot of football names out at you right now. But like, right. And Justin Herbert, like the quarterback for the Chargers is like up there, but he like really wants to be in a picture. Like anytime I'm doing something, he's like sticking his head out and trying to be in something. So like there could always be an easy way to get really worked up and be like, oh, I need to get this with him there and freak out and lose sight of things. But when you just calm down and you're like, hey, I'm just gonna have fun and take these pictures and the way they come out will be telling of it and will be right.
Yeah.
It just works, you know?
Yeah. That makes sense.
Works in its best way.
So, obviously you guys just got off of the last tour for 2024.
Yeah.
It's 2025 now. What's the plans? Like, is it true that he's going to chill on touring for a minute?
I mean, I don't that stuff. I just don't end up getting to be totally involved with, because that's totally a whatever Zach and management talk.
Yeah.
I'm more or less just
someone you needed.
Something's going on, whether it's recording something or I'm just gonna go hang out with him, or we're just gonna all go do something together, or there's a recording or something, like it's just always the case.
Yeah.
But I mean, I don't really know. I would imagine that it's not just we're never playing like large amount of shows ever again. But like I think that's like very valid for anybody want to do in this like space, because I mean,
got to be exhausting.
Yeah, you just put a lot of time in, and you're just away, and you're just giving yourself to people every night, and that's fine. Like it's enjoyable. We like doing that, but it's like at the same time, like you need a second to like, I don't know, go home and like do nothing.
Yeah.
You need a second to like go home and like experience heartbreak, or like experience a tough time, or have a really great time with somebody, or meet somebody new and like live life.
Yeah.
And I think everyone needs that. And it's when you're just on the road and you're in a bus, and then you're off the bus, and then you're in a stadium, and then you're in a stadium, and then you go to a hotel, and then you go back to the stadium, and then you get on the bus, and then you drive
chaos.
here. It's just, and I make it sound like, oh, it's so tough. Like, no, I'm very thankful and blessed to get to do what I want to do. But also, like, you get super desensitized to just about everything, because you're just like showing up there, and like Maria and Sal have like, a bunch of stuff in the fridge, and like food on the table, and stuff going on, and like all of these other people are like, have been there for 12 hours building this gigantic fucking stage and video wall, and all these people work so hard doing this stuff. But like, to us, it's like we're just rolling up, like, and for them even as well, they're just like rolling up doing that, and then they're kind of like, they're done until they have to break it back down. Like,
yeah.
So it's a very weird way of going about your life, and everyone, I think, just needs a second to come down from it. So, I mean, it'd be very cool to get to do like touring the way like Luke Combs does, because Luke Combs just does like Friday, Saturday.
Oh, okay.
I mean, it's sick. Like,
Yeah.
fly out, do those shows, leave.
Yeah.
Like,
so there's nothing on the schedule now, though, as far as touring. So like what's
there's one-off shows,
but like nothing crazy where you're doing 90 shows a year, like
no, which I'm pumped. That's awesome.
So like what are you doing right now? Like, you're coming home and like you're chilling, you're getting ready to get married.
Yeah, getting ready to get married in September. Super pumped on that. Very pumped.
It's a fun time.
Morgan.
Yeah, it's a fun time.
Then again, trying to get a space, because I want to like geek out and just fuck around with all kinds of different printing, and like with some of my work, and making other work with like using like just different types of paper and printing. Been like working on some different stuff. Also been working on book ideas, not specifically just like me and Zach, but other things. And then just honestly, just kind of taking some downtime before, realistically here somewhere in the start of the new year, trying to just ramp up working with just some other people to just go out and do other work.
Yeah.
Because we don't play our first show that's set with Zach is Stagecoach, and that's end of April.
So you got some time.
Got a ton of time.
Yeah.
So I'm just looking forward, like I said, to just like take pictures, have fun, make some physical work, like specifically like some just very different work. I can't really explain what like I've been kind of pulling together and what I'm trying to do, but
that's fine.
And also it could be a huge failure. But I'm just like really pumped to do a lot of different things. But like realistically, I'd like to have some video ideas that I want to work on, and build out as well. So there's a lot of creative things building up. And then also at the same time, like I have my house here in Pittsburgh and just like still working on that. Like yesterday was just working on that third floor attic space. It's just going to be like our closet and office. And so I'm I'm staying busy with a lot of shit, but I'm excited to have like whatever, like a small amount of shows. I think it's very fun. It makes them more special. I'm also pumped that like we've for the past 2 years toured arenas. The stadiums were a whole new wrinkle, which is cool. But we've toured these arenas with this exact same in the round stage and like set up all the time. So to think like this year, it's like Hyde Park in London at a festival and somewhere else, or, you know, San Francisco at Golden Gate Park. Like that's going to be like I can't, that is probably the biggest one on my schedule, like that I'm pumped about. Cause that's just like a legendary place, my favorite city, like a just crazy historical, you know, music city as well, from my standpoint, and like photographers that I love, that I'm just pumped about these like very specific one-off things and those going how they go and it being really cool. So yeah. I'm looking forward to that stuff a lot. And as well, just having a year where it's not, hey, here's another 90 shows, get ready to travel.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, it gotta be nice. Like you said, the one-off ones, you know, they probably mean a little bit different than, you know, just doing a bunch of shows every
100%,
night.
100%.
Now, I mean, do you think there's anything we forgot?
The only thing I'll go back on that we're getting into, and then we dove hard on the American Heartbreak train, is just realistically, and I think, me personally, I just always have to like finish saying something because we like started talking about it. It's the only thing we didn't finish, but the buildup of things like leading into like full time on like Zach is like that all started happening. American Heartbreak happened. Tour started happening, and then that first tour post that entire time where we were just opening like on that first run in 2021, that 2022 tour was like just the most fun thing that I think a lot of us have ever got to do, because we were playing really cool rooms that were like between like, you know, probably 3,000 and 5,000 people, and everyone's really close, and from a fan standpoint, and everyone's on top of it, and that whole buildup was really incredible. But then it just realistically, all that just happened was just the stuff just continued building with Zach, and that like need to be there was there, as well as just the demand and what it was bringing in.
Yeah.
And then at the same time, I was still working with Charles, but you know, realistically, like I was letting them down because they were building and trending and just gaining so much steam, and they needed someone to be there all the time. And, you know, Natalie does a great job, and she's been with them now for, I think, like, you know, like essentially 2 years, because like over that overlap time, like I was just missing a lot. And yeah, and I'm just like pumped for them, because like I stopped working with Chuck like the way I was like at the start of like this past year, like in 2023.
Yeah.
And they've obviously needed somebody, because they've just been exploding,
that makes
and
sense.
trending
You're
up,
one person,
you know? Yeah. And again, it was even just, it was obviously tough, because like I want nothing more than to do all of it, because I just want to work all the time. It's a blast. But like I like those guys in the Allegheny High are like my best friends, and they always will be. And we were just a whole group for this large amount of time. Like, and again, it's just, and us talking, I know you'll understand this, but it's like when you're like playing shows for 10 people and having a blast, but also like broken because you have no money and like everything's sort of in shambles at the same time, but you like can keep yourself sort of together through like having fun and like, you know, drinking, getting high, whatever, like for a little bit, and then going to a, you know, Waffle House at like, you know, 12:30 at night after a show where we did all of that, and like do that with a group of people and you guys get along. Like, I just think you'll just be friends forever.
Yeah.
Cause like, you
shared a moment in time.
Yeah, you shared a moment in time, and it was a struggle, but it was also beautiful, and it just like builds itself. So like, I love when I get to work with those guys. They're the best. Charles and, you know, the Allegheny High, like, are an absolute, like, class act, and they're, like, probably one of the best bands out there right now. And I think they're incredible, and, like, I'm very pumped for stuff they have coming up that people are going to find out about. But, like, yeah, no, that was an awesome time, and like I said, I wish I could still do it, but
I know it's tough though. But as a professional, really, you know, people have to go back to, like, you being a professional. Like, it's understandable, you know, you guys shared a come up, and you were a part of that time, but also, like, you know, to be a you know, you got to walk through a door whenever it presents itself.
Yeah, and dude, that was a really big pill to swallow. I still remember a person who actually, like, shed a lot of light on it for me, because I remember at the time when it first happened and I was not going to be working with them anymore, I was like,
yeah, it's tough.
I was very down, and it was like ever since moving back to Pittsburgh, it was like the first thing that felt like the way I felt in that breakup again, where I was like, man, like, I don't know I want to feel this in my adult life. This feels really shitty. And actually, someone who shed some light on it when I was on, like, my last run with Chuck and them was Kurt Ozon, who's Luke Combs' steel player. Also, Kurt, another hilarious enough, really great photographer. Me and him talk about cameras all the fucking time. But he was there, and it was like one of the first, I feel like, professional advice I can think of that where, like, someone just, like, shed something on me, because I was so bummed out, almost, like, resentful, like, not like it, like, just was really bummed out.
Yeah,
like, because I didn't want the
it's
ride
just a tough
to end,
time,
you know. But, like, I remember Kurt just telling me, and he was just like, "Hey, dude, like in the most Kurt way of just being, like, super nonchalant and chill about it. He was like, "Hey, man, it's just business. Like, dude, you're doing really great things. They're doing really great things. Like, and you are essentially too busy to do this, and that's not a bad thing. And there's no ill will or, like, bad blood there. Just know that, like." And it still took me time to, like, come to grips with that, but, like, I'll never forget that, because it was just like that. But yeah, no, the working with, having a lot of things is really nice, but also, like, it can be, like, really stressful, and then it can lead to some tough things. So I'm glad I'm in a place now where I have a thing going, but I want to branch out and work with other people, but I'm not going to let myself get, like, completely carried away with how that is. And all that panned out the way it did just due to, like, circumstance. It was just, we're out. Hey, come take pictures with me. Hey, cool. You should do that, Trevor. Hey, let's do this. And it's built up. And the cool thing is it's just built a lot of awesome relationships. Like, I've met and made a lot of really, really, really good friends.
I'm sure you have. I mean, you've had a wild last half of a decade.
It's cool. It's been really fun.
Now, you know, before we get to the ending segment of the podcast, I have to ask you one last question. Very important that I don't know the answer to, and I didn't ask you last time. What is the reason for the moniker?
Oh, my name?
Yeah. Because you were pretty secretive about it before you introduced me, or I think you introduced yourself to me.
But that's the thing. You came, you brought up to me about wanting to have me on the podcast, and I was like, yeah, I'm down. And you're coming to me from that standpoint of, like, Louie Nice, you know? And so I'm like, from a business standpoint, I'm just always going to, I don't want to say business, but just creative standpoint, or the fuck, you know, like, I'm going to be who I am.
Yeah.
And then when I'm not doing that shit, I'm Trevor Pavlik. What's up? You know, like, and that's fine. Like, and it's nice because it allows me I don't think I set out for it in that way, but it allows me just to separate, like, work and
that makes sense.
Home time. And it's great.
Yeah,
you know,
that makes sense.
I think alter egos are a really nice thing. Like, they're awesome. But
where'd that name come from?
Hilarious enough, it is just such a, like, basic ass story. Like, it's not anything crazy. It's just held for some reason. I don't know why. But when I was in LA and I was living with my ex, I had, like, really, really long ass hair. I wanted to be done with it. In high school, back when I hooped, same with in college too, but, like, I I would always just give myself my own haircut and I would shave my head. And so I did it out there, but I haven't done it in a while. So like, I'm not up on like giving myself a fade or any of that shit. Tried giving myself a fade with it too. And it just looked like a military cut. And my ex just said to me, she was like, oh, like you look like a Louis. And I didn't really know it. And I think I jokingly was just like, oh, Louie Nice though. Like, and
That's the origin of the Louie Nice name.
dude. And then I did that. And then it started turning into, like I said, like just working with friends of hers or other people I met that were artists and whatnot. And I just was like, I think at the time it was more or less like with like her label and who she was signed and all this shit. It was like, she was like, oh, like, I don't want people to think I'm like giving like you work.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So like, we'll just keep this name on it too. So I just wrote it out. I was
Ran
just
with
like,
it.
fuck it. I'll be Louie Nice.
I like it.
And then it just rolled like, and I just like kind of kept up with it. And then it was even when I came back to Pittsburgh, I was like,
Yeah, what do you go by?
do I keep this? Like, what do I do? You know? And it was actually my favorite moment ever was I did some work for, which met good people through that too, but I did a couple jobs for this, like Airbnb-ish company, like that only does like architectural homes. So, you know, I was trying to just really shoot specific stuff, and this was a break, and I was like, great. And it was the first time I had somebody actually like call me that name.
Oh, okay,
like,
yeah.
on the phone. And this is a British-based company. And it was really, really funny because I didn't realize that I had applied with my like I had like a whole like Louie Nice resume, like with that name on it. And it didn't even have Trevor on it. And that was like the first time I felt like it was like almost like business-wise real. I was like, yeah, fuck it. I'm 100% rolling with this.
That makes sense.
Got on the phone, was doing a phone interview with them, like had gone through a couple of them like choosing photographers. And yeah, I just remember the guy like calling me like, hey, is this Louie? I'm like, yeah. He's like, it's great to meet you, Louie. I love your last name, Nice. And I was like, and it hit a second. I was like, I was about to be like, oh no, I'm Trevor. Like, and I was like,
Just let
thanks.
it be.
I was like, thanks. Yeah, it's a cool name. And then we just went on with the interview, and it was like it. And like honestly, that was kind of like a pivotal moment where I was like,
That's dope.
yeah, I'm just gonna keep it. Fuck it. Like,
Yeah, I like it. It
So-
makes sense now, especially that you want to like kind of, you know, have two separate worlds a little bit, you know,
yeah, 'cause
professional to that.
Weird. The bummer. It'll be really fun when it turns into like actually putting out like a book and having prints out there, or like doing some sort of a showing at some point.
Yeah,
or
it's like
something of
Richard
work.
Bachman with Stephen
Like,
King.
of getting to be there and do that and be in that space like that, compared to just in a lot of ways, like just being honest about it. Like Louie Nice is just a Instagram name of sorts at the moment, you know, not saying it's just that, but like that's in all honesty where a lot of it lives right now. I mean, shit, most of photography sort of just lives in the realm of digital media like that, like Instagram or Twitter or whatever, you know?
Yeah.
So it's like, yeah, it's funny. It is just like a very stupid basic story, but then like,
That's all right.
it just kind of built, and then it like held. And then, like I said, I had that British dude call me that name, and I was like, yeah, I'm just going to keep this.
You don't even know how many times people that I've had to explain like the whole, why is there a strawberry? You know, why is there a strawberry?
Why
on
is
all
there
your
a strawberry?
brand? It was my nickname since 6th grade. And it's just been stuck. I got a fucking tattooed on the inside of my lip. Yeah, randomly I was at a Metro Index football camp down at the Steelers practice center. I had my hair bleached blonde from the summer. I got invited as a young kid.
Strawberry
I got like a special, yeah, and all the older kids from EF, they were just like, you know, as a you know, a big dick type of move. They're like, oh yeah, you know, strawberry blonde hair. I swear to God,
dude.
that's
That's really sick though.
Football principals, teachers. you know,
Everybody went in on you.
still there.
Tough.
That's yeah, my best friends that I've been friends with forever. None of them call me Chad. They call me Barry, Strawberry Barry. But that's like kind of
Berry is short for strawberry. It's actually really cool.
yeah. Like this is like, but that was a
I'm
way
gonna
to
name my
like.
kid Strawberry. And just
Go
call him
ahead.
Berry.
Go ahead. But
be
that's like, that was like my way to like, you know, kind of put my stamp on it that kind of like, added something from my whole life to like what I'm doing now.
Yeah.
Plus it's, I like having them the weird little quirks.
Dude, hilarious enough, I had a nickname I got from some kids I played on an AU team with, like out of mostly like Kiski area, like out near whatever, Frank Regionalish area. But at the time when I was a young kid, my mom really, really wanted me to be back to like being blonde like I was as a baby, but I had like straight brown hair. Like it just got dark. And she would always put sun in my hair in the summers and or lemon juice to just like turn that shit and like work it. And but because my hair is so dark, I wouldn't keep up with it, or I would like try to hide so she couldn't do it when I went outside. Not like my mom was like crazy as fuck trying to like make me blonde, like on some lunatic shit. Just she like Mr. Blonde Baby. Like she just like wanted that. It's fine. Yeah. But she would like do that, and like I wouldn't keep up with it. So I just always had this like just like orange like creamsicle sherbet color. Also, it's sherbet.
Yeah, sherbet.
Wait, are you using R?
No, sherbet. But I've just recently learned
I've always used an R. I recently learned
I've
it's
always
a bit too.
said it
My
as
life's,
sherbet.
My life's fucked.
Yeah.
Yeah. I can't believe this.
It's like the Mandela effect.
Yes.
Yeah.
Dude, but yeah, I had a bunch of AU teammates that like for the longest time, like, dude, all they would do is call me sherbet. They would just be like, they would call me sherbet. Like my head looked like a little just like sherbet like cone.
That's
like,
good.
But yeah, that's probably like actually like one of my favorite nicknames, legitimately of all time, was that. Dude, strawberry's cool though. That's rad.
Appreciate it.
I'm sure at a young age you were like, what the fuck does this have to happen?
Yeah, dude. People have like crazy nicknames like fucking killer and like whatever, and mine was like just strawberry. But I've embraced it. It could be worse.
True.
So there was some kid in high school. Swear to God, they called him Buffalo Testicle because he had a wildly shaped head. I swear to you, I can't even make that up. Kids called him that, so I always
They call him Buff for short.
They literally
called him Buffalo
our
Testicle.
quarterback, who was a fucking asshole. He was a dickhead to everyone. Called this dude Buffalo Testicle for years, and I'm like, man, I could have something a little bit worse. It could be worse.
Strawberry's a W.
Yeah. All right. So ending segment that I do with everyone is a segment called Desert Island Questions.
I got to be honest. I'm really pumped. I'm getting a second redemption.
I know. I figured you might be pumped.
I was struggling when you did this last time. I couldn't think of shit.
So Desert Island Questions, whenever I give each guest 3 categories to take with them on a desert island and use until they starve to death and die. First category, 3 movies. Rattle them off. Don't even put no thought into it.
Yeah, no. I mean, we said this last time. Hell or High Water is obviously in there for sure.
Unreal.
Absolute W. I'm trying to think of the other ones I had on there last time. Dude, also, I'm just going to throw this one out because I've been hyped on it, and I watched it a little while back in my bunk, but I watched it in IMAX too, and I just think it doesn't get enough credit as one of his best. But Dunkirk.
Yeah, fantastic.
Nolan's a GOAT. And then gotta do my absolute favorite Wes Anderson movie, which is Bottle Rocket.
Yeah,
Shout out Bottle Rocket.
Or Owen Wilson,
yes.
rather. That's a good one.
Literally his first, I mean, they made it. It went to Sundance. You can watch the black and white version of it, like the short film version of it on YouTube. It's on there to be able to watch. But I recommend, like, if you're a Wes Anderson fan and you've never watched like the beginnings of him, where it's not just like so his world, and it's like just beginning to kind of find its way. It's an incredible movie.
Okay. Do you have a favorite book?
Dude, I'll just say On the Road. It's easy. I've read that book like fucking 4 times.
Okay, that's good.
It's just my world. I like Jack Kerouac, that whole thing. I just read tons of Jack Kerouac.
I've never read any. I've got to get into both.
Dude, John Steinbeck, we definitely, I'm sure were asked in a class in high school to read a Steinbeck book. I feel like we did. Grapes of Wrath was read in high school, but like there's just again, a lot of that ties into this San Francisco, Northern California area that like I love so much, and I think I just love reading stories from there.
Yeah. What's the other popular?
John Steinbeck.
Yeah.
Grapes of Wrath. Trying trying to think of the one.
I feel like I saw an interview with Zach where he mentioned that being one of his favorites.
Dude, I'm not sure. I can't remember. I'm really blanking on books right now.
That's right.
My mind's lost.
What about okay? So the third category is 3 CDs.
3 CDs. Shit, we'll just go from the hip as to like the first CD.
Yeah, what's the first one you ever bought?
Gave. It was a compilation album that they definitely bought at like JCPenney or something called Pure Funk.
Oh yeah,
and it was literally just funk songs. That's all it was. Like I think the first song on the track was "Superstar" by Curtis Mayfield.
Okay,
I hope I'm saying that right.
That's all right.
Someone in the band will get on me if I like didn't say the right thing together. But like, dude, had like Brick House, like Kung Fu Fighting, like all of these just like older like funk like disco ish hits. Like, and I remember like I like what just loved that freaking thing. Like also did like a talent show to all of those songs, like dancing at a talent show when I was in 3rd grade. We killed it. Had like on like an Allen Iverson. I had on a Michael Jordan jersey, and my buddy Luke at that time had like a Allen Iverson jersey on. We're just on stage like Kung Fu Fighting and like dancing. It was sick. After that, I'll say Circles by Mac. I didn't even realize it at the time, but I love the composer John Bryan. And like he, composed Jim Carrey movie.
Truman Show?
No, with Kate Winslet.
Oh, Eternal. Yeah.
So like he composed that. Like I listened to the album that he composed of that all the time. Same with Lady Bird could definitely go there in my movie shit too. Also, my fiance introduced me. I did not watch it when it came out, but I mean, I'm a huge Greta Gerwig fan. Like I love Meg Ha and like some of her Frances Ha. Damn, that was a crazy. Sorry, Hudson. Ebner. I love Greta Gerwig, and I saw Little Women. That one's dope. But like Lady Bird is probably just one of my favorite movies. I think it's an incredible movie.
Yeah, it's
also
real good.
Northern California shit with Sacramento. But John Bryan did that too. There's a song on there on the Lady Bird album called Reconcile that I think is just like I can put it on and I can listen to it like for 4 fucking hours and just be in this zone and like work or do something and just feel incredible.
Okay.
It just makes me feel, which is awesome. But Circles, if I'm putting stuff together right, he like reworked the rest of that, and I just thought it was really, really beautiful and incredible. Okay. And I love that album. And then I think the other one I'll just throw down for the sake of it. Like let's just bump Family Ties.
Yeah, that's a good choice. I mean, it's a fucking ripper of an album. Absolutely insane.
Yeah.
Yeah, insane. Okay, third to last question is the death row meal.
Nice.
Death row meal is you get, before you get put to death, you get your last meal, appetizer, main course, and a dessert. What would they be?
Okay, appetizer. Appetizer is going to be we would have to try to bring them back into existence because no longer does it happen. But in 2021, the Abbey in Lawrenceville had these garlic parm wings where like they just had like it was like oil almost like dripping off of them, and like the Parmesan was like melting, like little crumbles of the Parmesan was on it with like actual like almost just like little pieces, like not just like store-bought like diced garlic thrown on it, but like
real shit.
Someone put that shit on it. Dude, those were insane. Me and Morgan would just walk from our place down there over like a couple streets down, sit there and just eat fucking wings because they were that good. So if we could bring those back, that's a good app. Crazy work. I don't think they do it anymore. At least I think we went there a little ways after and they still had done them, but they were not the same. Bummer. Main course would be aglio olio pasta, spaghetti aglio olio. My fiance makes it. I've made it. Like it's essentially just a poor man's Italian dish of like essentially over there, you're not even putting Parmesan on it. It's just olive oil, and like red pepper flake. I mean, it's just like a very basic thing with noodles, but like we're throwing a little bit of Parmesan in there, some parsley, garlic mainly over there as well. Garlic, red pepper flake. And it's just a very, very light thing, but I don't know. That flavor is like my favorite thing, period.
Okay.
And all the guys give me shit because anytime we go to a restaurant, like they don't usually put that shit on the menu because it's just so basic.
Yeah.
But like if I go in and I feel like it's
might be able to do
it's
it.
a real Italian establishment, it's something special, they'll come over and I'll be looking at the menu and I'll be like, can I get could you guys possibly make me an aglio olio spaghetti or pasta? And if they do it right, like that's on point. And then everyone gives me shit because they don't know how to pronounce this. They're like olio alia or something crazy and give me shit about it. But dessert, a cotton candy, like Hershey's ice cream cotton candy milkshake.
Okay.
Also, like spot we go to in Pittsburgh all the time for ice cream scoops.
Yeah.
They have them in a bunch of locations. They always
stuff.
carry that. It's good. Also, Northern Lights, the thing to not sleep on. I'm just throwing it out there. And it probably sounds gross. And I'm going to say sherbet because sherbet is bullshit. Perry's Ice Cream makes this
the best.
Northern Lights sherbet that is like green apple, grape, like blueberry, some crazy ass shit.
Yeah.
Get that at a Scoops or wherever you go, however you do it. Get that and do a milkshake. And I know it sounds crazy because it's kind of like this like fruity-ish like thing. It's not really like cream, like milk ice cream. It creates this like milky-ish fruit like shake thing. It's really good.
Yeah.
Also, you might hate it, but I think it's good.
All right. You're getting ready to go on a little run. You go into a gas station. What is your snack of choice?
The High Chew sour watermelon.
Okay.
They're like come in a little thing. They're always like, if they have them, strawberry's fine too, but the sour watermelon, I can't get enough of them. Those are the nerd gummy clusters are super, super on point.
Those are good too.
Really
Dangerous.
good. Very dangerous.
Okay. Last question. If you could have a conversation with anyone alive or dead, who would it be and why? Cannot pick a loved one.
Okay. Yeah. So this one gave me struggles last time. And last time I said, like, have me and Zach sit down with the likes of like Jack Kerouac and just us.
That was a good answer.
Have beer and do what, and that's fine. And that can be like the 1A. But I think for me, like realistically, I think I would really enjoy to sit down with Jim Marshall, which is probably like my favorite photography influence, or my main one, and just like sit down and just like honestly like bullshit about like music or like anything. The dude was like crazy into like cars and guns and kind of like a wild man. Like honestly, like kind of fits the, again, more of this Northern California wild ass on the road ish vibe and like the times.
He's passed?
He is passed, yeah.
What? How long ago? Like somewhat recent?
No, not really recent.
Okay, yeah.
But I mean his work's incredible. Like, I mean, dude, like I think just the easiest just like jump to, I know that picture, anyone will know that picture, is the Johnny Cash flicking off the camera picture.
Oh, yeah. Everyone
like,
knows that.
There's just a book that he has, which I would recommend to anybody, but there's a book where just he documents like them going to like Folsom, and also like there's one of just them going to Alcatraz, like, and it's just like Johnny playing at Alcatraz and Jim's taking all the pictures from it.
Hell yeah.
So he's a goat. I think there'd be like really good talking points there. Another 1A.
Yeah.
Bill Walton.
Okay. Yeah.
Bill Walton's a goat. I've recently become a gigantic Deadhead.
Yeah.
Not to the likes of Meeks.
I know.
Not to the likes of Meeks. Not even to Nate, who Nate is sort of an old Deadhead.
I know.
But I will say, and I'm also such an asshole in terms of being biased, that like we were given tickets to the Sphere. And
insane.
Dude, it was absurd.
I bet.
It changed my life.
I know. Everyone said that.
But like, I've also just like now just like gotten into this like whole swing of things. It's funny because there's like multiple people on like our group, like Sean Reed, who he does the merch for Zach, and he has since the jump. I mean, me and him hated each other when I met him in Raleigh. I walked in the first show, and I'm walking in with Charles with all our merch, and like Sean's in there, and I walk up to him, and I'm like asking where I can like set up our merch table, which is going to be like
a little pop-up
like
poker
this,
table
next to, they have like a whole L that takes up like 20 feet of space. And I remember him being like, yeah, hey man, just like give me a second. He has like 30 boxes on the floor, and also he has never done this before.
Yeah.
As is everybody. And I remember just being like, that guy's a really huge fucking asshole.
Yeah.
And then me and him are like really, really close friends now. But like, Sean's a huge deadhead. And like,
it's an acquired taste.
He's gone to like 10 of the Sphere shows.
I'm trying to develop my palate.
It's rad.
I'm trying to develop my palate for the Dead. You know, I have so many friends who are like, Hitchhiker Brewing.
Yeah.
The brewer there, he is, very, very big Deadhead. And I tried listening to it after this, and it takes some time. It's like jazz. It's like you got to listen to it in a different way.
I love jazz.
I know, but it's like I've listened to Miles Davis, 1,000 times, and it takes. I'm trying to develop my palate full circle.
Do you need for there to, like, because that's what I'm saying. Like, there's just so many interesting things. Like, do you need for there to be like words for something, or does it need to have like a select amount of time to begin and end? Because for me, like, I think the reason I've always enjoyed jazz, and like, not even that like I didn't enjoy the Dead, I just didn't. I will like I said, I'll go listen to Reconcile by John Bryan on the way home, and for the 35 minutes I drive home, I'll listen to that song on repeat, and I'll get in like a zone and like drive around and be like, I wonder what was singing today. Man, Strawberry's a cool nickname. I can just drive. Like, and I'll be in like all of this creative thought. But like the like, it's wild because like those are reasons that like I don't end up listening to like old artists that are very popular, or I don't look and find new music, and it takes like a friend of mine being like, check this out, and then I like veg out finding new shit. But like, for me, it was just, I didn't listen to it, but like it fits those same things of it just being like, it's just like a whole wave. It just feels like something. Like jazz does the same thing for me. Like it puts me, jazz puts me in this mode like I'm in fucking New York. Yeah. Always. Like it's just jazz, I go to New York, and like I'm there and I feel something, and I feel like I'm moving, and like I can go get something. Like,
I'm getting there.
That one is like this, just the Dead makes me feel like really happy about life and look back on it and like smile really big. And
I'm getting
also
there.
Like that also pans so hard into like, man, I'm high as shit, like, yeah.
Yeah, so. that's whenever you can understand it.
True.
But dude, I mean, whenever I asked you to come do this again, I was like, yo, we're gonna tighten this episode up because the last one was 2 hours and 40 minutes, and we're literally at 2 hours and 35 minutes. And I don't know, I feel like we could talk forever, but
I love coming up here and talking.
It's great, dude. I loved our conversation this time, and it's crazy because when we talked before, I mean, we touched on some of the same shit. We touched on some new shit, but it just, time went by. Dude. But I appreciate you cutting some time out. I'm glad you have some free time home right now. But I mean, I appreciate it. I appreciate you giving me some time.
Yeah, dude. Thank you for having me. I'm gonna do a last shot because I did this last time too.
Do it.
And I only because just from a like photography standpoint for like Pittsburgh work, but shout out Premiere. It's one of the spots you can go to in the city. Obviously, a big shout out to local one in Lawrenceville with Bodega. Bodega's rad. Got a lot of dope shit in there. They do developing and scanning as well.
Yep.
A new one that like I've heard a lot of good things about for anyone out there. Eastern Standard in Wilkinsburg, another spot. So there's a lot of places in Pittsburgh. If you're into film photography, go pop your shit, go out, do stuff. I mean, there's a lot of old cameras at Bernie's, but I also like, it's kind of hard to buy him. He's tough, but it's like, it's kind of a thing. Go in there and like look at stuff and like probably leave with nothing and like have an experience. But like, there's like stuff in the city and like,
go check it out.
It's a cool spot, and like go out and like take pictures no matter what you have. But like, if you're into film and you like vibe with this stuff, there's a lot of places where you can get film in the city. You can get stuff developed and scanned. I mean, there's places in the city as well where you can learn to do the processing. Like I do my shit in my basement, but sometimes I'll drop it at Bodega and just be like, hey, can you develop it for me? And then I can just go home and scan it, and I don't have to do all that shit. So, yeah, go out and shoot, have fun, and thank you, King. I appreciate it.
Well, I appreciate it, but give yourself, tell people where they could find your stuff, obviously.
Instagram.
Louie Nice.
I don't really have anything else, just Louie Nice on Instagram.
Got a website?
Yeah, LouieNice.com.
Simple as that.
I haven't updated in a while, but like there's shit on there. You can also like, if you go look at Chuck stuff from a long time ago, you'll see my shit. You can go on Charles Wesley Godwin's YouTube and watch the doc for making Family Ties, because like the guys just poured their heart and soul into it, and it's really dope. Good. There's a bunch of, if you go through Zach's past of videos of like different VHS and different work, there's a ton of stuff in there, as well as like
you look at his Instagram.
Yeah, so that's what I mean. Just like dive around, type the name in, you'll peep it, you'll find it. It's good.
Get that Louie Nice hashtag, see all the good stuff that pops up. But yeah, dude, I appreciate it. I just appreciate it. Everyone else that's listening, appreciate yins as usual. Each and every week, we're back with another great guest doing great things in the city. Thank you for listening. Call you right back.
Telephone.
I'll call you right back podcast.